10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everybody. Hello. And it's always good to be here with you. Oh, of course, my technology just went off. Just like usual. When you're going to do something, everything goes wrong with the technology. Okay. So we're back and we're here with you. I want to thank everyone who's joining us right now. My name is Michael Voss. I'm the Dragon of the Southern Tier. This is the No Soundbites Allowed podcast. And I hope everyone will be able to hear me properly. For those of you who are listening in on YouTube or who may be checking this out on stream.me, I thank you for joining us here on this podcast. I do it weekly with some additional podcasts, and we talk about a lot of the issues that are going on every day. So I just wanted to make a nice introduction there. Now, one of the first things that I want to talk about here, as I'm using a little bit of a different system here, so I'm just getting used to it. I'm streaming on a couple of multiple sites at once, so it's a little different for me. But I want to talk today a little bit about what I think is really interesting, and we're going to do this short. This is only going to be about 13 minutes. We're going to do a little brief thing. I'm pretty sure that by now, everybody has probably heard of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is a very interesting person, a firebrand. A lot of Democrats seem to think she's fantastic, and that's wonderful. But if you don't know who she is, she's a democratic socialist, which in most worldviews means she's a communist. But she's a democratic socialist, a very far-left radical who is got some great ideas. If you enjoy super high taxation, if you believe in the social justice kind of agenda that's out there. Now, I'm bringing her up because Nancy Pelosi, Charles Schumer, the government is currently shut down for 22 days. It has cost more than $5 billion for the government to be shut down for this amount of time. It's a first ever in the nation. And one of the biggest reasons that we have heard from the government is that, from Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer, is that the wall is unaffordable. It's $5 billion. We can't afford to spend this kind of money on a wall. And in fact, the original offer for the wall was $25 billion to be able to build it all. And that's for our southern border, to prevent illegal aliens from coming into the nation, to help prevent drugs from getting into the nation, to help slow down the number of criminals and potential terrorists that would be entering our nation. As we have 15,000 people sitting on the border in California that are trying to get into our nation illegally. And Democrats are saying that we shouldn't spend the money to do that. Okay, fine. Now, whether or not you agree with that, I want to deal with the logic of this. Democrats are saying, in part, that $5 billion is just too much money. We cannot spend that kind of money to build a wall because they don't think that would be effective. It won't help people. It's not enough. That it's just spending too much money, and we can't possibly stop all the drugs. We can't stop all the people illegally entering the nation, and it's just not going to be worthwhile. That's kind of interesting because, one, no one ever said that we're going to stop all of it. But more importantly, what are Democrats willing to spend money on? What are the Democrats saying that they're willing to, and if they're not going to spend $5 billion to build a wall that could slow down the number of people who are coming into our country illegally, that could help slow down the amount of drugs that come into our nation illegally, that could help prevent any terrorists or any criminals who have wrong intentions in our nation to come and affect us, what are they willing to spend money on? I mean, it's a fair question, right? Well, according to, that brings me back to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And Representative Cortez has said that she has this great idea that she is going to spend approximately $1.3 trillion on green energy. That's right. She wants to spend $1.3 trillion on redoing the entire nation's energy system. She wants to be able to put everybody on solar energy, wind energy, hydroelectric, get rid of all the gasoline, get rid of the gas fuel, natural gas, get rid of all of that, anything that has carbon imprint or footprint. And that's her goal. Get rid of all that because we'll save the world, because the United States by itself, not the fact that Russia, India, third world, no one else is bothering with this and no one else cares. But in the United States, we would go completely renewable energy, which is an impossibility, and it's just a stupid idea. But this is what she wants to see done, and it would cost no less than $1.3 trillion. And to get there, and to pay for that $1.3 trillion, she is suggesting that we would increase our taxes by more than states like countries like Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Netherlands, Russia, Venezuela. Think about that. Think about that for a second. She wants to spend more money than Venezuela or China or Sweden. I mean, that's the answer right there. Denmark is like the place that they point out to. All the people who want to say, well, we need to be more socialist and we need to raise taxes, they love to point to Sweden. They like to point to Denmark, where the top rates are at about 60%, 50-60%. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying she wants to raise it to 80%. 80% to pay for taxes. And you have to wonder to yourself, what is that going to do for everyone? Well, essentially what it's going to do is drop everyone out. No one's going to stay here. Just like it's happening in New York State. They keep raising the taxes, and what is everyone else doing? They're leaving New York State. Matter of fact, it's third year in a row, the biggest exodus. Over the last 9 years, we've lost over 1.2 million people. We've lost over $1.3 trillion in business. We've lost roughly about 15,000 businesses themselves that have left New York State. And you would expect that the people who would be paying this 70, 80 percentile in taxes, well, they're going to put their money back overseas, just as they did under President Obama, and none of that's going to be here for everyone in the United States. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. By the way, I hope everyone's seeing this. I know there's some delays. It looks like there's some delays as it's coming across. Please, I apologize for that. So that's one of the problems here. So Democrats won't spend $5 billion, about 0.1% or 0.01% of the actual spending, federal spending, but they will spend $1.3 trillion just to get green energy. That is impossible. And one of the biggest things is, what is the real cost of this? I mean, this is what they want to do, but here's the cost. According to Heritage, according to a CDA analysis, the real cost is that if they were to put in the green energy and spend the $1.3 trillion, it's going to cost even more, because you're going to pay between 36 and 60% more for your electricity. It means that it's going to cost $5.2 trillion to replace all of the electric grid, the power generation, to build up the solar generators, to get wind power set up. That's another $5.2 trillion. So it's actually $6.5 trillion. You're going to lose, each and every person in America will lose $2,400 per year for a family of four. And we're going to see 1 million people lose their jobs. Okay? Think about that. What's that going to do to the economy? 1 million people will lose their jobs to create this green energy utopia. So Democrats are unwilling to spend $5 billion to build a wall that can help stop the heroin epidemic, the opioid epidemic, that are unwilling to stop the inflow of illegal aliens breaking our laws because no one in America invited them, and they demand to be taken care of. They're demanding to break and violate our laws. I don't understand that. Okay, so they don't want to spend $5 billion, but they're willing to spend $1.3 trillion, actually $6.5 trillion, to impose a green energy mandate that will take away 1 million jobs. How many people are being hurt by that? Does that make any sense to anyone? And on top of that, according to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the other things that we would do, not only would we raise taxes, but we're going to inflate, actually devalue the currency. She wants to just throw dollars at it. We're going to just print money. Print as much money as we need to pay this off. For someone who has an economics degree, she's not a very intelligent woman. Because if we just print money, which was done in the 1980s throughout all of South America. Remember, some of you may be old enough to remember the Banana Republic comments, which were referring to South America and their governments that were absolutely going out of their minds. They were just crashing left and right. And the answer is, why was that happening? Because in those countries, they just printed money left and right. And what effectively happened is everyone had nothing. You would take a wheelbarrow to buy a loaf of bread. Okay, what she's looking to do is to take $10 and make it worth 50 cents so that she can pay for the $1.2 trillion of the initial setup and another $5.2 trillion to initiate this green energy idea. Let me ask you, I know that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has mentioned that she is not, she's not worried about being factually consistent. She's not worried about getting the numbers right because facts are not important to her. What she has said is what is important to her is in fact being morally right. Well, let me ask you, is it morally right to take away the jobs of 1 million hardworking Americans? Is it morally right to force every American in the United States to pay more money? Is it right for us all to be subjected to her desires and the desires of a few small number of democratic socialists? I don't know. I don't think that's quite right. And I have to believe that if they're willing to spend that $1.3 trillion just on the initial stage of a green energy plan, if they're willing to spend another 32 to our nation, quite honestly, we have to think about that. If we're going to do it, if we're going to take this grand experiment for trillions of dollars, then why aren't we going to take a very simple step and put together a wall? Well, that's been my time for this today. This is just a short little thing. Please let me know if you think that it's better for me to do these short episodes or to do a longer one. For those of you who are on YouTube or who are on stream.me, it looks like the system, the stream cut off once or twice. I hope not. If you ever have a question, you can always go to the Voss Political site. You see the website dropping by, or onto my podcast itself, the No Soundbites Allowed podcast, and you'll be able to hear everything in one single block. Hopefully, we'll be able to fix the technology in a little bit and make it work a little bit better. But until then, I want to thank you all for joining me here. My name is Michael Voss. This is the No Soundbites Allowed podcast. This is our little quick bit here, and we'll be back again soon with another podcast very shortly.